crashing under mother cries. Who listened to the fall, to the floor?
Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Yes, it looks like a pen I've reviewed a few weeks ago, the Delike New Moon. You can see the cartridge in there through the somewhat transparent material this pen is made of. Probably an acrylic because of the chatoyancy and how it looks. So you may be wondering, Chris, why do you have another blue Delike New Moon? And I have to say, I ordered it by accident, but I ordered it for a particular reason. Part of the challenge with a passion for finding new instruments to write is you see something that catches your fancy and you order it. It's not overly expensive, and you order it because of a particular feature that it has. This one is not going to be readily apparent until we look at this nib. And it is a bent nib. It's not as severely bent as some of the other bent nibs that come out of China. This one's a little more subtle because it's a fine nib that's been bent. And the bending is not severe in my view of a bend. But what it does to the writing experience is impressive. So we're going to compare this with the original nib that came in the other Blue Moon that I have. And hopefully you'll get to see how this nib works and how I am extremely impressed with it. And so impressed that I bought another bent nib. I had to buy two from, I think, the same supplier that this came from. So I'll be able to put this in my Delike brass pens or any of the Delike pens that have a assembly, the nib assembly that screws in and screws out. And so far, no one's talked about being able to remove the nib to replace it with another nib, so you're kind of stuck with that assembly. But at least now you can buy some nibs to go with these pens and give them a different writing experience. What I enjoy about these videos and my interaction with you, the viewers, is I get some great ideas, and one of my viewers strongly recommended this bent nib to give it a try, so that was one of my motivations. And coincidentally, I had already ordered the pen just a few days before that excellent suggestion, but it certainly reinforced my ideas of trying something new and sharing it with you. I probably should have gotten a different color than blue, but I do like blue, so I'm certain one of these pens will find a new home, and that'll just pay it forward and keep the writing enjoyment continuing on. Time I got the Delike pen, I also ordered these Jinhao nibs. I got a bunch of them. Here's the buy that I did, and that's what I'm more familiar with a bent nib. I think some people may refer this as a Fude nib. I do have a Sailor Fude nib. I've had it for a while, but the writing experience is a challenge for me. But this is, as you can see, a number 6 Jinhao nib, so it's quite a bit larger than the number 5 that's on the Delike. So we'll be trying this out in maybe my 450s, my 750s, or my 159s, and we'll give you a look at how that looks. But I just wanted to show you the severe difference in the bend of the nibs between a subtle bend here in the Delike and a severe bend here on the Jinhao. Extra fine bent nib with the regular extra fine. And that's a pretty good view of what that looks like. Again, it's a subtle change to it, but I'm very impressed with what it's done to the writing. So let's take a look at that. I get on a roll with certain inks, and so this is my new ink to go to, this Lake of Fire by Robert Oster. So that's what's in this Delike with the bent nib. If you haven't seen my original video, this is a kind of pen on the small side. Definitely a pen I would write with posted. It's fairly light, so it doesn't change the balance. In fact, it actually, I think, makes the balance a little bit better. I think right away you can see how much more ink this lays down. The horizontal strokes are certainly in the broad side, and the vertical strokes are, I would call that a fine. But if you turn the nib over, which I'm not a fan of reverse, but as you can see, reverse is extra fine, and it's consistent. So you can really get a big line variation with this nib without really putting a lot of effort into it. You know, it doesn't require the pressure that you would do with a flex nib. And this is extremely smooth. And it is very easy to lay down an extremely dense patch of ink. So let's quickly compare that with the original extra fine nib that came with the New Moon. I think you can hear right away that this is certainly a little scratchy, which I attribute to being an extra fine nib. I haven't done anything to smooth or tune it or things like that, but you know, for an extra fine, if you go up here and compare the reverse on that, you can see that this is slightly not as extra fine as the reverse on the bent nib. But, you know, there's no horizontal, vertical, pressure, whatever. This is just going to be that type of writing. More pressure just gives you more feedback. So this nib is not my favorite, but to me, when you compare it to the bent nib, I just love this nib. And I've used it for a few days now as a regular writer, and I enjoy it. It's great for taking notes with because it's so smooth and it lays down such a nice dark patch of ink that I think that's good. And what's in the fine nib is Iroshizuku Konpeki, so it's not quite as dark or dense. So this isn't a one-to-one comparison just on inks, but just on the amount of ink that's put down. And the saturation and the color, you know, is not going to be the same. But I just wanted to give you guys a look at this, and for those that may say I don't want an extra fine or fine nib, if you can find a bent Delike nib in a pen that you like, I strongly recommend it. I think it's great. So thank you for watching. May you have many great writing experiences. Enjoy the world of pens, inks, and paper. Enjoy your day. May the pens add to that enjoyment. Bye.